So, welcome, listeners, once again to the next episode of the Live Better Connected podcast. And today we've got a really exciting episode where we're going to be looking at the whole industry, where it is, and equally the investments that are going in and things like the rollout of 5G and 5G standalone. But how are we going to get there? And to help us along that side, what we've got is Gavin Winbanks from Whitehawk Green. So, welcome, Gavin.
Hi, Gareth. Great to see you.
Excellent. So, Gavin, can you just tell us a bit about who you are and Whitehawk Green, which is your consultancy?
Brilliant. And thanks, Gareth, for the opportunity to be here. So, Gavin Winbanks, I set up my consultancy, Whitehawk Green, which is about supporting strategic investment and providing strategic and commercial advice, predominantly to kind of large infrastructure and real estate to deliver more investment. And I've had a long history working in both in government. I set up the Office for Investment and worked closely on the UK's investment strategy to make sure that we were optimising what we were doing in trying to encourage more investment. Prior to that, I worked in the private sector for about 15 years, 11 of which were at Macquarie. So looking at large infrastructure and what's required in which to make economies and societies thrive and prosper.
Excellent. So, in some way, you have a really fascinating, rich of experience in infrastructure itself and bringing money into the UK to help fund the infrastructure that we do. So, in some ways, you've been the poster boy for the UK infrastructure and how we sit on the world stage.
Yeah, I look at an amazing experience, and I think we have so much in the UK in which to be proud of in terms of what has been achieved in terms of rollout of a variety of different technologies and also world-leading capabilities in a variety of different infrastructure sectors. I think as we look towards the future, what do we need to be doing in order to unlock more investment to ensure that we continue to maintain the standard of living and that we're also able to kind of support the economy to fulfill its true potential. And one of the key kind of observations I have around the work that we've been doing on this report is that the mobile industry is such a powerhouse in terms of bringing together all parts of the economy and across a variety of different sectors. And I'd encourage my former colleagues in government to be thinking more about what can we do to enable the mobile industry to be as successful as it possibly can be in turbocharging the sectors of tomorrow and also the sectors of today.
And I think that's a really important point. Turbocharging, we're not necessarily just talking about the mobile industry here. We're talking about what the mobile industry can do for the wider economy. I think in some of your figures, you've got a £159 billion boost to the economy if we get this right. This is such an important sector to the economy. And yet, and even, what we're still talking about is, if we can get this right, £159 billion boost to the UK economy.
Yeah, the potential impact on the economy across a range of different sectors is absolutely phenomenal. And we can kind of see it, no sector is untouched, and you can see it already across a variety of different sectors. So the NHS, healthcare is being aided by mobile technology. You've got the healthcare sector more generally, as well as also smart energy, as well as the way in which we're kind of operating across a variety of different sectors. So doing more to enable that cross-sectoral benefit for mobile infrastructure has to be a key of any government that wants to take the economy on the next stage of its growth.
And I think some of the figures you've put in there, the catalyst it can offer, as you say, healthcare 15 billion, smart utilities 9.4 billion. And we're talking about the energy, which is going through rapid transformation itself and going to need that connectivity for sort of home generation of electricity into the grid and then the grid back out to sort of industry, all connected in far more ways than we can even think now. And especially with the Internet of Things coming, is going to be critical. So if this is such a foundational technology, and as you say, we're looking towards, we've got elections coming up, we're looking to governments of what their thoughts are around this. this report, Mobile UK commissioned you to do this report. Why do they feel it was needed?
So I think the mobile sector is like a success story, and it's something that we as a country should be really proud of. I kind of observe my own experience of working in government, and my observation of it is that it's slightly taken for granted in terms of the value that it makes. We've got like the wireless investment strategy, which is really, really positive and recognises the amount of kind of capital that is being provided by private sector players. So like at no cost to the taxpayer. And yet, when we look at things like the future investment strategy and all the sectors that are at play, we need to be doing more to make sure that the mobile sector is actually integrated into the conversations, because it is such an enabling technology. So to fully achieve the benefits that people want in the sectors of tomorrow, like life sciences, like healthcare, like smart energy, government has to be doing more to increase the level of dialogue and to make sure that all of the future investment requirements are achievable, recognising that all of this is coming from the funding thus far is coming from the mobile network operators. So to fully achieve what government wants to achieve, a kind of a more open dialogue to unlock that investment, which has been pretty significant, which has been hugely significant to date. It's 1.8 billion on an annual basis. There's this massive requirement as we go out, particularly because it has been so integrated into government's plans for the future. How do you make sure that those future requirements are financed in the best way possible, but also that we make sure that we're not blocking the existing investment? And I know that there's a large amount of focus in government on making sure that we make investment as easy as possible in the UK. And I challenge former colleagues to kind of really look at how do you make it as easy as possible for a sector that is not out with the begging bowl to actually do more to unlock the future economic benefits across a variety of different sectors.
I think that's an important point that you made in this report, that actually this is an industry that essentially is very much self-funded, and it isn't one that attracts huge amounts of subsidies. It's not a regulated industry. To put in this investment, it can't just up its bills, through like the water industry, which I think is something that's not necessarily fully understood. As you said, almost taken for granted. I think that's a really fascinating point, because in this report, though, you did look at some of the challenges. Obviously, the more successful the mobile industry is, the more successful the wider economy is. And it's about ensuring there is a return on investment to attract that investment that is needed to roll out things like the shared rural network, which is £1 billion initiative. And as you say, £2 billion investment in the current and upgrades. And also then, as we've got 5G and 5G standalone coming on, and there's a growing gap in terms of what we need to get to there and where we are at this stage. So, and I think your report looked very interestingly into that.
Yeah, I think in order for investment to take place at scale, we need to have an honest dialogue around, while many celebrate the keeping costs lowest, I think on a variety of different measures at the moment, the UK is second cheapest across a variety of different markets. While that has a benefit to the consumer, if we are to fully achieve the full aspiration of 5G and 5G standalone, and particularly when it gets into areas that are less economically viable, what are we doing in order to make sure that the mobile network operators are able to actually fulfill that investment ambition? And some of it is both recognizing the value that is being added, but also thinking about how do we make sure that existing projects that have been committed to, that it's as easy as possible to kind of get through planning and actually deliver the power that these opportunities present. So I think there is an overall recognition that there is no added cost to the taxpayer. There's a variety of kind of social tariffs that the sector is providing at a cost of hundreds of millions across a variety of different sectors. What are we doing then to enable the existing projects to go ahead, and also to make sure that when mobile network operators are going to the market to try and raise capital, that while costs are low here, what are the other methods for raising revenue in an environment where government continues to commit and embed mobile into the future plans of tomorrow? At some point in time, we need to have an honest dialogue around how all of that is financed. And I didn't get any sense through the analysis that anyone was complaining. Rather, it's just almost like foreshadowing that if we're to fully achieve this ambition, we need to make sure that we are able, as a country, to have a future mobile needs financed.
Yeah, and I think reading your report, I thought there was a clear sort of that honest dialogue was also clear about making sure there's a balance. You know, as you say, the industry is regulated by Ofcom, and that sort of regulation is about bringing prices down and ensuring they're affordable to customers. And in large ways, that's been achieved, as you say, the second most cheapest prices across Europe, bar France, I believe. But equally, the industry is a social and responsible citizen, and it's got some amazing support that it provides to those that are vulnerable and social tariffs. I think you're saying £62 million in social tariffs, £290 million support in provision for those with financial hardship, and £90 million support for those who are digitally excluded. All again paid for by the industry without subsidy from the government. And I think the industry is very proud of what it does in that instances. But equally, we have to get the balance right to ensure there is the money, therefore, to invest in that infrastructure that is needed and those challenging targets. And I think the Digital Connectivity Forum looked at that and has said there's, to get to where we are from today, to get to where the 5G standalone, it's around 25 billion. So it's about working through that gap, but equally maintaining that right balance.
Yeah, and so in addition to kind of the social tariffs and the contribution to provide a wider range of access, you also have a range of kind of fees that are being charged on the sector, quite significant amounts, and over 290 million. And you've got all of this in the round. So we have social tariffs and social benefits, lower costs, additional fees being charged, and then a 25 billion future investment requirement. There has to come a point in time where people acknowledge that, and given the contribution that's been made and the fact that for every pound invested by mobile network operators, that there's a £5 benefit to the economy. How can we do more to make sure that that happens at scale, and that we make it as easy as possible for the sector to be rolling out 5G standalone in an environment where there is a huge amount of competition in international markets? So the work being done in the US around the Inflation Reduction Act and also European initiatives means that this competition for capital to finance these future plans in an environment where there are a series of fees and tariffs, as well as also a need to keep costs low. We have to be doing more, and we've kind of recommended in the report a series of kind of tangible, practical ways in which to be able to unlock more of that investment.
And again, I think it's that point about unlocking investment. You know, it's as you say, we're not here looking for the government to subsidise or fund. It's about narrowing that gap. And one of those ways you suggested in the report was equally the planning system, which is resources in it are very much stretched thin. Councils are struggling with a number of applications. That's not, it's not just the mobile industry who will be building. It's both the sort of water industry, the energy industry. So I'd be fascinated to just look into that a little bit more.
Yeah, I think all parties would probably recognise that planning is an impediment on growth, and the it's an important process, but at the moment it's kind of it's unfunded, and or kind of poorly funded, and there's an absence of kind of resource in which to be able to do it. And also, mobile is one of the UK's critical national infrastructures. How do you make sure that the prioritisation of this as an enabler of growth goes up the scale, and what could be done in which to be able to kind of unlock more of that? And I think the work, the kind of the proposals that have been made for a period of time around making sure that there is more planning capability, but also that there is a speeding up of the process, has to be a simple and easy recommendation that could be, with a bit of support, could actually unlock this future growth.
I think one of those areas that Mobile UK has campaigned on is the role of digital champions who can help coordinate at a local level, have the skills and understanding to engage with the industry. It's one of those sort of, whereas we see a clear return on investment, is investment in those roles can actually help smooth the way for the rollout of mobile networks. And then, as we say, that really fascinating figure that you use, every £1 that is invested by mobile networks generates £5 in the economy as a whole. We've also mentioned, as you said, we've got this wireless infrastructure strategy, and on the 11th of April of this year, 2024, that is going to be 1 year old. How are we getting on with that?
So, I think, it's progress that we've got a wireless infrastructure strategy, and I think there's been some positive progress on it. I think we need to be doing more to kind of achieve the underlying aims of what has been recommended. And I'd love to see I'd love to see a greater recognition of how this integrates into wider parts of the broader investment strategy that the UK is delivering.
Great. And obviously we're looking ahead as well with elections coming. We have the incumbent government and we have opposition parties as well. And obviously what we want to ensure is that this the importance of mobile connectivity is understood across the whole spectrum of political parties. So as you say, I think wireless infrastructure strategy is really important. There's opportunities to do more. I think you mentioned sort of more other in the reports of things like annual license fees and do you want to explain? Sorry, I've lost that one there.
So in terms of, we need to have a constructive dialogue around the annual license fees and whether or not this is actually an impediment to growth. I think when we see within the mobile network operators operate across a variety of jurisdictions and the people that are providing the capital for future investment, there is a decision to be made around whether or not the associated costs of actually investing in the UK in the underlying product, as well as also rolling out future investment plans. Is there a significant, is there a beneficial return on investment? And also, is the cost of actually delivering that investment prohibitive? So if you think about it from the perspective of if there are other places in which you can generate a better return, investors will be making that. And particularly when you have an overall environment where inflation has been up, the cost of energy has gone through the roof. We'd identified that 5% of the costs associated was on energy costs for mobile network operators. So in an environment where you have increasing costs, inflation and increasing fees, as well as a variety of social tariffs, how do we make sure that we kind of remove the things that could impede growth and make investment flow in these future needs? Because no one is actually saying that we don't want this. I think there's so much to be done, and there's so much positive growth and so much of a positive contribution that can be made to a variety of different sectors, that if we just addressed some of these simple points, we'd be able to kind of do more. With annual license fees at or around 318 million, it's a significant contribution.
I think that's what's really interesting about this report as a whole, Gavin, is it's not necessarily looking to climb a whole mountain. There's actually some very simple things that can be done. It's about ensuring the industry is an attractive place to invest, which, as you say, it already is. It's got some amazing things going on. We've got 5G rolling out, 5G standalone rolling out. shared rural network has extended coverage into some of the most difficult areas of the country. It's about just ensuring the balance is right and ensuring that the UK has the opportunity to continue to be a world leader in this field. So I think, for anyone who is looking into this, and especially with an eye on those who are looking towards the next sort of government and both sides, this is a really fascinating report. It really puts into some really great research about where we are now and what needs to be done. But equally, it ensures that having what we have is a very successful industry, continues to be successful, and the UK as a whole can attract that investment into this country, so we can continue to be world leaders and have world-class connectivity. So from my side here, and I think from all our listeners here, Gavin, thank you so much. That's been really, really informative. I would say please check in the comments section, where you will find a link to the report and to Gavin's website. As usual, if you've liked this podcast, please do sign up and subscribe, and check out all our website as well. There'll be further information on our social media accounts and others. And obviously, from my point of view, again, thank you to our wonderful guest, and I look forward to seeing you on our next podcast, which will be coming out very soon. Thank you.